Okay, streaming, and we'll get the guitar out. There we go. All right, and we will chant. We'll try to chant. All right, something new. Jaiva Dharma, Jaiva Krishna, Jaiva Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinatha Vatana. Jai Mukunda Giri Govardhan, Kandi Jambuna Jaya Jaya Ma Ishigata Mamshirata Vadasakana Yaksabalila Koela Zinanta Nanda Shridanda Yashoda Jaya Jaya Gopaga Shridamani Jaya Jaya Dinavatsa Ga Jaya Rishabha Kirtira Sundari Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Aparagari Jaya Jaya Purnamasi Jaya Vira Jaya Jaya Gopi Shivara Vrindavana Manas Jaya Jaya Krishna Sakavatu Trishula Jaya Rama Gata Jaya Rohini Nanda Jaya Jaya Vrindavan Navana Vasi Tachajan Jaya Trish Bhakti Jaya Nagakanagan Bhakti Jaya Bharat Baila Govinda Jarana Shirasa Mandala Jaya Jaya Radha Shyama Jaya Jaya Rasa Leela Sarva Jaya Jaya Jwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sar Bharakiya Bhaveya Vrajate Shri Janavapada Padma Korea Smara Shri Janavapada Padma Korea Smara Dina Krishna Dasa Kohe Nama Sankirtan Dina Krishna Dasa Kohe Nama Sankirtan Jaya Rane Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya Althateta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chandanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantagoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai Brahm Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Jai Bakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarni. So we are going to read the translation to this beautiful poem by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All glories to Radha Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. All glories to Shamakund, Radhakund, Govardhan Hill on the Yamuna River, Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana. All glories to Keshigat, the Vamshivat tree, and the 12 forests of Braj. At these places the son of Nanda, Shri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys headed by Sri Rama. All glories to the cows and calves of Braja. All glories to Radha's divine father and mother, Vrishabhanu, and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Braja. All glories to Gopishra Shiva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmin friend, Madhabangal. All glories to Ramagat, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all the residents of Vrindavana. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtain the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Shri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shama. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas and is propagated in Braj by Shri Krishna in the form of the divine Padakya Bhava. Remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Jaiva Devi, this very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna sings the Sankirtan of the holy name, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. So, we'll continue with our study of Jaiva Dharma, and today we're going to start talking about Abhideya. Previously in the Jaiva Dharma, we were dealing with Sambandha. Sambandha means understanding the basic tattvas, who God is, who we are, what the material energy is, what the spiritual energy is, and the relationship between all those. And also, we understood what Mayavad philosophy is, what Advaita philosophy is, what Parinamvada is, and Vivartavada. Anyway, if you're interested in hearing those things, you can listen to the previous classes. So, let's go to the Jaiva Dharma. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So we're going to share the screen. And this is chapter 19, which is known as Abhideya. Abhideya basically means the process of devotional service, so how to achieve the goal. We already understood what the goal is. Hopefully you understand what the goal is, which is Krishna Prema. But then how to achieve it, that's another subject matter. Okay, here's the secret way to achieve it. After eating, Brajanath went to bed. Waves of thought about Achincha Beta Beta arose in his heart. So Achincha Beta Beta means one and difference. Everything is one and different from Krishna simultaneously. We saw many quotes in the Vedic literatures that justified that. Sometimes he thought that this was just another doctrine. Then, thinking deeply, he saw that this was not contrary to the scriptures. One could derive this from all the scriptures, not just taking one scripture, one quote, but the combination of all the scriptures and reconciling all the apparent contradictions. Gaurikishore was directly the full form of Bhagavan. Gaurikishore in this case means Lord Chaitanya. Gaura Kishora. That's the name of Lord Chaitanya. You didn't know that? Gaura Kishora, because Krishna is known as Kishora, and Lord Chaitanya is known as Gaura. Kishora is a young man. And in Chicago, they were the deities installed of Kishori. I was there when that happened. There could be no fault in his profound teachings. I also will never give up the feet of Gaurikeshwara, which are filled with prema, with love. Well, what have I attained? I've only understood that Achintya Beta Beta Top was true. Even knowing this, what benefit do I get? Babaji said that Priti, love, is the ultimate goal of life, of the Jiva. The Karmis and Gyanis are searching for this Priti. As the song goes, all you need is love. But they do not know the pure form of this Priti. It is necessary to obtain this Priti in its pure state. What is the method for attaining it? Asking this question to him, I will accept Babaji's conclusion. In other words, he knows the goal, he knows the material energy, he knows all these other things, but he doesn't know how to get there. So, Babaji, you better tell me. Thinking in this way, gradually he fell asleep. Since he went to bed late, Brajanath woke up a little late. Giving up sleep, finishing his bath, his maternal, it should be maternal uncle. Bad English again. His maternal uncle Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya arrived. Seeing his uncle come from Moda Druma after many days, Brajanath offered his respects. This is actually a very interesting part of the story. Vijay Kumar, remember, Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya, or Vijay Kumar for short, is the uncle of Brajanath. And he's a great devotee. We're going to hear he's a great devotee, but he doesn't know that Brajanath's become a great devotee yet. So Vijay Kumar was well versed in the Bhagavatam by the mercy of Narayani. As Vrindavan Das Thakur's mother. He had developed great affection for Gauranga. He wandered in many places reciting Bhagavatam. When he directly met Vrindavan Das Thakur in Denuda village, so Narayani is Vrindavan Das Thakur's mother, in Denuda village, Vrindavan Das gave him instructions about seeing the inconceivable Yoga Pith in Mayapur. Yoga Pith is the place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. Vrindavan Das had said, in other words, this Vijay Kumar had directly met the author of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Wow! Vrindavan Das said that in a few days, the place of Mahaprabhu's pastimes will become almost lost. Then, after 400 years, the place of pastimes will be revealed again. So that, of course, after 400 years, Bhaktivinoda Thakur revealed the place of Lord Gauranga's pastimes. The place of Gauranga's pastimes is. All right, trying to edit the English. The places of Lord Gauranga's pastimes are non-different from Vrindavan. Okay, it should be are. Those who were capable of seeing the spiritual nature of Mayapur and other places can see Braja as well. So I'm editing on the fly here. So hearing Vyasa Avatara Vrindavan Das Thakur's words. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, he's referred to here. Let me just turn off this phone. This disturbed me. He's referred to here as Vyasa Avatar. What does that mean? He's an incarnation of Srila Vyasadeva. He's the Vyasa of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Vijay Kumar was anxious to see Mayapur. I have to see Mayapur. He thought he would go to Mayapur after seeing his sister and nephew in Bilva Pushkarini. That's where Brajanath and his mother live. Okay, his mother, the mother of Brajanath, is Vijay Kumar's sister. Got it. Previously, Bilva Pushkarini and Brahmana Pushkarini were joining villages. Nowadays, Bilva Pushkarini was not far from Brahmana Pushkarini. The edge of Bilva Pushkarini was about a half krosha from the Yoga Pith of Mayapur. About half krosha. The abandoned Bilva Pushkarini is now called Tota and Tarana Vas. Little geography there. Vijay Kumar embraced his nephew Brajanath and said, I've come to see Mayapur. Tell grandmother that I will return and take lunch at this house. Huh. Brajanath said, why do you want to see Mayapur? Vijay Kumar did not know about Brajanath's present state because, remember, okay, so I don't have to remind you because it's being described here. He knew that Brajanath had given up his study of Nyaya, which is logic, and is now studying Vedanta. He thought it was not proper to suddenly explain to Brajanath his own devotion. He said, I have come to meet with one person in Mayapur. So he didn't, this is an important point, that if you have devotion for Krishna, and there's some question as to whether someone else has devotion to Krishna, you don't reveal your heart to that person. Especially if they're into, really heavy philosophy and everything like that. Okay, I like your philosophy. Are you a devotee? Not really. I'm trying to be a devotee. So, whoops. Let me just turn this off because it's still beeping at me. Anyway, so he didn't want to reveal because you don't reveal your worshipful deity to others. It's very confidential matters. Like when I speak to people in general, I don't speak to them about the Rasa Leela or intimate relationship with Krishna. I just speak to them about, you're not the body, Prabhu. Brajanath knew that his uncle was a devotee of Gauranga, an expert in Bhagavatam. He surmised that his uncle was going to Mayapur to search for something spiritual. So Brajanath said, he reveals that he's a devotee too. Yeah, I'm a devotee too. Isn't that amazing? I used to be simply into logic, and I'm a devotee. He says, in Mayapur there's Raghunath Das Babaji, a Vaishnava who inspires great faith. Go and speak to him. Vijay Kumar, hearing these words, said, what's happening with my nephew? Do you now have faith in the Vaishnavas? I heard that you had given up Nyaya and were studying Vedanta. Usually when you say that someone's studying Vedanta, the word Vedanta means the Vedanta Sutras. It also means the conclusion of the Vedas. But it generally means impersonal Vedanta. Now I understand that you have entered the path of bhakti. So it is not necessary to hide anything from you. So generally, we do hide our devotion from people who just can't understand it. According to someone's level of devotion and level of being able to understand, we will speak in a certain way to people. That's right. So just like even Gorgashodas Babaji Maharaj and all these other great souls, when they had to just deal with people in ordinary fashion, they just came down to their level and just didn't go Radhe, Radhe. Aged Vrindavan Das Thakur ordered me to see the Yogapith in Mayapur. I decided that after taking a bath in Ganga at the Ghat in Mayapur and seeing the Yogapith and doing Pradakshina, circumambulation, I would roll in the dust at the feet of the Vaishnavas at Srivasangam. And so he's revealing to Brajanath that I'm a devotee, you're a devotee. Now we can really associate closely. But previously our relationship was just like friendship, or like a parental type of relationship. Brajanath said, be merciful, permit me to go with you. Come, let us meet mother, and then go to Mayapur together. The two of them, after speaking in this way, informed Brajanath's mother and left. First, they took a bath in the Ganga in great bliss. While bathing, Vijay Kumar said, today I am fortunate. At this Ghat, until he was 24, Sachinandana, that's Lord Chaitanya, showing unlimited mercy to Ganga Devi, played in the water. Today I have obtained great happiness bathing in this water. Wow. Brajanath, hearing these inspiring words, said with affection, Uncle, today I have been fortunate to follow your feet. After they both bathed, they came to Jagannath Mishra's house, and tears flowed from their eyes. Vijay Kumar said, it is not an exaggeration to say that if one takes birth in Gauda but does not touch the Maha Yoga Pita, his birth is useless. Look, this land looks like a normal land to material eyes, covered with leaf huts. but by the mercy of Gauranga today, we are seeing wealth, the huge jeweled palaces, most pleasant gardens and suitable arches, etc. So beautiful. Look, Gauranga and Vishnu Priya are standing in the house. What an astonishing form. What an astonishing form. So basically, this indicates they had some, what we talked about this morning, a spurti. For those of you who weren't listening to class this morning, you can tune in. It's on YouTube. But anyway, we talked about spurtis. A spurti means like a vision, a real vision of something that is transcendental. You got, Krishna's giving you a vision, not just your own imagination. I mean, you can force yourself to have a vision of something mundane if you want. And this morning I gave the example that when I was young I had a dog, and I could force myself to see him in my mind's eye. But that's not a spurti. It's a mai. So a spurti means Krishna reveals something, like all of a sudden you look and you see Krishna playing his flute. That's a spurti. Or you look at Mayapur, you see everything's effulgent. Or like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he looked from the Rani Damshala in Navadvip at Mayapur, trying to figure out where Lord Chaitanya's appearance place was, he saw a big temple, he saw lights, and he understood that's where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So there's many spurtis. In the beginning of Jaiva Dharma, we heard that this sannyasi Thakur, who later on became named Vaishnava Das, had a spurti when he looked at Sridham Mayapur, and that convinced him to actually change his dress from being a sannyasi to being a Vaishnava. Saying this, the uncle and nephew became stunned. After a long time, with the help of many devotees, they rose while weeping entered Srivas Sangha. There they rolled on the ground, said, O Srivas, O Dwaita, O Nityananda, O Gadadhar, Gauranga, give us mercy, strip us of pride, and accept us at your feet. So, Srivas Sangha, and of course, Srivas, he's an incarnation avatar of Narada Muni. He's a member of the Panchatattva. That's where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had his kirtans. So many stories about Srivas, which we tell during Srivas Thakur's appearance day. Seeing the condition of the two Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas there said, Jai Mayapur Chandra, Jaya Unconquerable Gauranga, Jaya Nityananda, began dancing. Soon after, Brajanath offered his body at the feet of his worshipful Raghunath Das, Babaji. The old Babaji raised him and embraced him. He said, Today, why have you come at this time? Who is this gentleman with you? When Brajanath with humility explained everything, the Vaishnavas took care to seat them upon the platform under the Bakula tree. Vijay Kumar, with humility, inquired from the Babaji, how will I attain the goal? In other words, he's asking the same question that Brajanath was thinking about. Like, what is the abhideya, the process of achieving the goal? Babaji said, you two are the greatest devotees. You have attained everything. But giving mercy to me when you have asked, I will say what I know. Krishna Bhakti, devoid of jnana and karma, is the goal and the method to achieve it. That's interesting. Krishna Bhakti means, if you don't know what that is by now, you're in trouble. You're in the wrong class. Devoid of jnana, jnana means the desire for liberation or for mental speculation. And karma means the desire for things you can touch, tangible things, or gross sense gratification. So that's similar to what Rupa Goswami says in the nutshell verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. At the stage of sadhana, this is called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means practice. And at the stage of perfection is called prema bhakti. So practice bhakti and love bhakti. But not just ordinary love. Ordinarily when we think of love, it's something that I'm attracted to or you're attracted to. I love computers. I love myself. That may be all right. I'm not saying we should love computers, but that's not the love we're talking about right now. Vijay Kumar said, Babaji, what are the essential characteristics? Swarupa means the form or characteristic, the form, his own form or its own form, Lakshana, characteristics of bhakti. Babaji said, on the order of Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami wrote Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which in ISKCON is called the Nectar of Devotion. In that work, the Swarup Lakshana of Bhakti is described. So this is the nutshell verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which I just made reference to. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma anavartam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhakti uttamam. The highest bhakti is defined as continuous service or emotions directed towards Krishna, his expansion, forms, and others related with him, with a favorable attitude towards Krishna. It should be devoid of desires other than the desire to please the Lord and unobstructed by impersonal jnana, the materialistic rituals of karma or other unfavorable acts. So again, let me unpack that. It's devoid, anyabhilashita shunyam, of dirty things like desire for liberation, desire for achievements in this world, devoid of those things. But it's characterized by serving Krishna the way Krishna wants to be served in an active way, continuous way, as mentioned here in the translation. That's known as the Supreme Bhakti, or the highest bhakti, as the translation here goes, bhakti uttama. In this sutra means like a short verse that contains a lot of meanings. It's compact. Sutra also means thread. In this sutra, the Swarup Lakshana, the bhakti's own qualities, and Tatashta Lakshana are clearly described. Tatashta means marginal qualities. In other words, qualities that are there but are not the essential qualities of bhakti, but are necessary but not sufficient. There's some logical words for you. The word Uttama Bhakti means pure bhakti, bhakti contaminated with jnana or karma, desire for liberation, desire for sense grain, is not pure bhakti. In bhakti contaminated with karma, the goal is material enjoyment. In bhakti contaminated with jnana, the goal is liberation. So the tatashta lakshana, that is the marginal characteristic, is that it's free of jnana and karma. The direct Swarup Lakshana, direct characteristic, is it's characterized by devotion to Krishna. Okay. Bhakti devoid of desire for enjoyment and liberation is Uttama, the topmost. When one takes support of this bhakti, one attains priti as the result. Priti Lakshana, the symptoms of love. What is bhakti? So he's going to further get into this verse. The Swarup Lakshana, direct characteristics of bhakti, is activities of cultivating a relationship with Krishna through body, mind, and words in an emotional state filled with affection. In other words, not just doing things for Krishna with body, mind, and words, whatever, but doing it out of affection. I'm doing it to please Krishna. In other words, while you're making an offering to Krishna, not just doing it, but thinking, Krishna, I want you to be pleased. Otherwise, it's not bhakti at that point, or not full bhakti. These activities and the bhava emotion are executed constantly with a favorable attitude. So there's the emotion and the activities. These are direct characteristics, and the attitude, favorable attitude. By Krishna's and devotees' mercy, when a special function of the Swarup Shakti, that means the Lord's own potency of the Lord, within the Jiva's own Shakti manifests, the Swarupa Bhakti manifests. That's an interesting statement. So we have some Swarup Shakti of the Lord within our own Shakti. but it's not manifest right now. So by the chanting, this our Shakti, which is a manifestation, or perhaps an expansion of the Lord Shakti, can become fully manifest. The jiva's body, words, and mind in the present condition are endowed with material emotions. Tell me all about it. When the jiva activates his body, words, and mind by his own power of discernment, discrimination, this means what is Maya, what is not. It's discrimination. Examining your activities, like Maharaj Parikshit, he is known as the examiner. When the jiva activates his body, words, and mind by his own power of discernment, then only some dry products in the form of material knowledge and detachment arise. Those efforts cannot give rise. So if he tries to do it on his own, it's not going to be that successful. These efforts cannot give rise to the function of bhakti. Only when the functions of the Swarup Shakti arise and become active to some degree does the function of pure bhakti manifest. So again, that Swarup Shakti, that's Krishna's own Shakti, and those functions become manifest when we get purified. Krishna alone is the full manifestation of Bhagavan, of God. Thus, the constant cultivation of Krishna alone is the activity of bhakti. Activities of culminating Brahman or culminating in Brahman or Paramatma are special angas of jnana and karma. If you want to get merged in Brahman or approach the Paramatma, that's associated with the desire for a gross or subtle sense gratification and liberation. They are not bhakti. Some activities may be unfavorable, but bhakti is accomplished only by favorable actions. The word anukulya indicates a pleasing attitude towards Krishna. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. This favorable attitude maintains a little material relationship during sadhana. In other words, when one's practicing, it's not fully purified. So there's a little bit of material self-interest there. That's what we mean by material. At the time of perfection, it is purified and devoid of a relationship with the material world. In both conditions, the characteristics of bhakti are the same. Thus, the Sarup Lakshana, the qualities, bhakti's own qualities of bhakti, is cultivating Krishna with a favorable attitude. Exactly. So it said in the footnotes, from this chapter until chapter 30, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu will be summarized. So if you read this, you'll understand a lot of the nectar of devotion. Yep. In discussing the Sarup Lakshana, that means the qualities of bhakti, bhakti's own qualities, essential qualities, one must also describe the Tatashta Lakshana. That means the marginal qualities, which are also important, but they're not the essence of bhakti. They're like preliminary to bhakti. Rupa Goswami describes two Tatashta Lakshanas while cultivating bhakti. One is the absence of other desires, and the other is not being covered by jnana, karma, or other elements. In other words, you're free, shunya, of all the desires, like jnana and karma or other things. If desires other than the desire to progress in bhakti arise, it is contrary to bhakti. So any desire you have is contrary, not contrary to the desire to progress in bhakti, is contrary to bhakti. Wow, it's pretty exclusive. But there's many desires that are connected with the desire to progress in bhakti, such as the desire to help others and bring others to bhakti. So we desire to progress, we desire that other people will progress in bhakti. So the desire to share bhakti is not contrary to bhakti. It's part and parcel of the desire to progress. So jnana, karma, yoga, vairagya, in other words, knowledge, renunciation, sense riot, hatha yoga, If they become strong and cover the heart, they contradict bhakti. That's why, Prabhus, that when people get into too many austerities, even if they're thinking it's part of bhakti, it makes the heart hard. A devotee should have soft heart. If you don't have a soft heart, then you're not doing things properly. Thus, if cultivation of Krishna is done favorably, devoid of the two elements, it is called pure bhakti. Vijay Kumar said, what are the specialty of bhakti? What are its special features? This is also interesting. So these are features of bhakti. Not the Swarup Lakshana or the Tatashta Lakshana, but the features. You know, what bhakti gives you. Or as they say, with him, what's in it for me? Okay. This is also from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Babaji said, Rupa Goswami has said that in pure bhakti, excuse me, there are 6 special qualities. Kleshagni, Shubhada, Mokshala, Huta, Kritsu, Dulabha, Sandrananda, Visheshatma, Shri Krishna, Karshini, Chasa. The unique characteristics of bhakti are, number 1, its ability to destroy suffering. Suffering is gone. Wow. First thing happens is bestowal of auspiciousness. Number 2. Number 3, disregard for liberation, or as Prabhupada explains it, decrying liberation. Its rarity of attainment, its manifestation of concentrated bliss, and finally, its ability to attract Krishna. Bhakti Rasamrita 1:117. So, by bhakti, one can control Krishna, like Radharani, who has the unlimited bhakti. She's able to control Krishna. It's one of the qualities of Srimati Radharani. She always keeps Krishna under her control. That's why we chant, Radhe Radhe, Jaya Radhe. So that Radharani will convince Krishna, because she's soft-hearted. Krishna's a little heavy sometimes. She's soft-hearted, and we chant Radhe, 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 and she recommends us to Krishna. Okay, now we're going to go over the individual characteristics. What does it mean, the destruction of suffering? Okay. So now we're going to hear the root cause of suffering. If you're suffering, you better become attentive. You're going to hear it. Babaji said there are 3 types of suffering. Sin, the seed of sin, that's called papabija, and ignorance, avidya. So sin, obviously, you know what sin is? Well, sinner repents. So sin means violating the order of God, or some vikarmic activity. The seed of sin, papabija, means like the inclination to perform a particular type of sin. And this seed becomes fructified when we have bad association. Like if you associate with someone who is in the modes of nature, bad association, then even if you had a seed there that didn't fructify, it will start to fructify. It fructifies by association. Just like the creeper of devotion fructifies by association. And ignorance means ignorance of one's own identity. Actions like pataka, mahapataka, and atipataka are all sins. So what does that mean? Pataka means sin, mahapataka means big sin, and atipataka means the biggest sin. Okay. So let's say, pataka, what would be just an ordinary sin? Like eating boga. Eating something that's not offerable to Krishna, or you haven't offered it to Krishna. That's a pataka. Like if you buy something with impure ingredients, like it has garlic, or you offer it to Krishna and you eat it, that's pataka. Yeah, little pataka. Maha pataka, what's an example? Maha, a great sin. I guess a great sin would be like eating meat, or taking, smoking marijuana or something. And ati pataka would be extremamente, like one of the biggest sins would be like killing people and stuff like that, are all sins. The person whose heart pure bhakti has arisen does not commit sins by his nature. In other words, there's no inclination. He's not thinking of the rules and regulations. He's not thinking, I better not sin, get a reaction. I want to do this, but I'm not supposed to do it. No, he just has no desire. Just like an advanced devotee will look at some non-offerable food, and there's no attraction to it. But someone who's not advanced, they'll walk by a vegetarian place that sells vegetarian food, whatever, and he gets attracted to it. The desire to commit sins is called the seed of sin. It's there. Even though you may not think it's there, under the right conditions, it fructifies. The example Prabhupada gave, and I also give, is that when they dig and they uncover these pyramids where the Egyptian pharaohs, I'm trying to think of some English funny thing to say over here. Pharaohs. Anyway, or fair rose. Where the Egyptian pharaohs have been buried, they sometimes have chickpeas that have been dried and kept for maybe thousands of years, and then as soon as they add water, boom, you got a sprout there. Chickpea sprouts, if you like sprouts. So that's the same thing with the seed of sin. It's there, and under favorable conditions it will come out. That's why we have to be very careful not to put ourselves in favorable conditions for the sin to come out. In the heart purified by bhakti, all these desires have no place. The jiva's error concerning his swarup is called ignorance. In other words, thinking, someone asks you, who are you? What's your swarup? My swarup is, I'm an American male, as the song goes. Born in the USA. It's a funny thing. I was talking today how that in the 1960s and 50s we had all these songs that actually indicate different mentalities. Nowadays it's practically just one type of mentality, a really gross mentality. The understanding that I am the servant of Krishna naturally arises with the appearance of pure bhakti. The ignorance in the form of error concerning one's swarup or nature no longer exists. As soon as the light of Bhakti Devi enters the heart, darkness in the form of sin, the seed of sin, the three things, and ignorancia are destroyed. With the coming of Bhakti, suffering cannot be seen. Haribol! Thus, the destruction of suffering is one special quality of Bhakti. So you may say, but you're performing Bhakti, and you had some health problems, and you probably will have some health problems in the future. That's life in the material world. So, what happened with the suffering? Well, even if there's some physical apparent suffering, one takes shelter of Krishna and uses that as an impetus to become Krishna conscious. So, in other words, it's a symptom of ecstasy. Don't give me too many symptoms of ecstasy like that, but it can be seen like that. That's very interesting. Okay, so we found out about how bhakti destroys. This is like a commentary on the nectar devotion. This is so incredibly cool. I love this section. It's really like a comment or a purport on the nectar devotions. All right, so let's take some questions. We're having such a good time. So, here we go. Here we go, friends. Mute. Unmute you. Does anyone have any questions or comments or problems or arguments, challenges in life, relationship issues? Oh, you have a relationship issue. Okay, go, Paul. You speak.
Please send my patience to Gurudev. You mentioned earlier in the Abhilasha to Shunyam verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, serving Krishna favorably as he wants to be served. But we see one very distinct example in Rupa Goswami's brother, Sanatana Goswami. He saw Madan Gopal was being taken care of by that family, and he was having fun at eating dinner at the table, and he instructed that family, and then he was stuck, getting chastised by Madan Gopal, and he said, now you have to take care of me yourself. And then he did take care of him, but then he wouldn't bring salt. And Krishna said, where's my salt? And he said, I'm an old man. I can't bring salt. So how can we reconcile these pastimes with Sanatana Goswami?
Because the order of the Guru is superior to the order of Krishna. So Sanatana Goswami had this order by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was his guru. That's an interesting point. If there's some conflict, between a bona fide, pure devotee guru's statement and Krishna, and then Krishna would rather have you follow the guru's order. So Sanatana Goswami got the order from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his guru, to compile literatures, and he didn't have time to get salt. And he also had the order to start temples, but basically the primary order was Nana Shastra Vichara Naikadipano, to peruse the revealed scriptures and establish eternal religious principles. So that's really the reason.
Thank you.
Okay, good question. It's actually a funny question to ask. So Lord Chaitanya's, I would say that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's orders can't say that more important than Krishna's orders. It's not different. Anyway, it's an interesting question. So who else would like to ask a question? Now's the time. You can type in the text window, you can unmute yourself, or you can raise your hand. Now's your opportunity. We have 5 more minutes of this class remaining, unless we want to end early. Such an interesting topic. All right, nobody has any questions. We got 27 people here. Someone should have some sort of question. Going once, going twice. Oh, I guess we're going to end early. Going 3 times. Oh, here's a question. What does Priti mean, Gurudev? It means love. Let's give you how Prabhupada translated it. Generally, it's love. Give me a second. Priti Purvakam means the path of love, or loving ecstasy. Then Priti can also mean satisfaction. Priti can mean gratification or affection, attraction. Can mean attraction, satisfaction. I'm taking it as love because I like that. Pleasing. Let's see, love. Priti Swabhava Atma. Wow, what a beautiful statement. This is from the Bhagavatam. Priti Swabhava Atma. That means his emotion, his own emotion, or the emotion of the self, was love. Or as Prabhupada translates it, whose heart is by nature always full of love. So his nature. Swabhava means his emotional nature. So it's the same thing as Atma here in this sense can mean self or heart. Priti Swabhava Atma. That is a beautiful phrase in Sanskrit. Here's another one. Oh, Priti can also mean merciful. Yeah, saying it actually is really interesting. Vajatam Priti. And yeah, also, in the nutshell verse of the Gita, Tesham Satyayuktanam Vajatam Priti Purvakam, the path of love. Wow. Those who are constantly devoted, worship me with love. Here probably translated as love. Bhajatam Priti Purvakam means they worship with love. That's the Bhagavad Gita, of course. 10. Let's find out another meaning. Priti Yukta means attached in love. Priti Yukta means attached in love. Satisfaction. Priti Hetava means pleasure. What is the pleasure that we get? Priti Purvakam, there it is again. Anyway, so the only pleasure we get is loving exchanges. These other pleasures, they come and go. And so, as Krishna says in the Gita, the wise man does not delight in them. Very good question. So, Krishna Priya, you have a question. Unmute yourself. Krishna Priya, your hand is up.
Yeah, I unmuted it. I just couldn't get the page to open to unmute it. So we were talking about, which is a very understandable point, that we don't reveal Istadev, to people that are unfavorable and that have the wrong attitude, and especially our own internal personal Istadev. Then at the same time, we might be, let's say, serving at the temple, and we're serving Radha Golokananda, and so many different people will come, and devotees naturally cannot help but express their loving feelings towards the deities and the Dham, and we never know who those people are. So can you speak on that some?
But they shouldn't get into their own personal realizations publicly. They can say, this is great, it's a great spiritual atmosphere, Krishna is beautiful, but obviously they shouldn't get in, I just like to be one of the gopis next to Krishna. Too much.
No, obviously. But because even there's the injunction, Gurudev, that one shouldn't perform the worship in front of a non-devotee, but then we can be worshiping the deities doing arti, and who knows who's going to walk in.
Being merciful. One should instruct. You shouldn't instruct the faithless about the chanting of the holy name. Too. There's so many things. Injunctions. A devotee takes risks for preaching, but other than that, when it's not a question of preaching, we're just very quiet. For preaching, we can stick our necks out when there's the possibility of someone coming to Krishna consciousness, but not our internal realizations. That's a little bit too much. What's your realization? What's your Ras? You could have like a game show on TV. Guess my Ras. There was actually a devotee, and I'm not going to mention the name, pretty well-known devotee in Vrindavan, ISKCON devotee, who would sometimes dress in a sari before the deity, a man. And he wasn't a gender changer either. He just dressed in a sari because he wanted to get in that mood. I think that's a little inappropriate. It's called Saki Beka. Beti. Saki Beti. So we just have to be careful. Whoever we are, we can say Krishna's wonderful, Krishna's great. But, my mistake when I first joined the movement, I was telling my parents how great Krishna was, and it made them very angry. Because Krishna took away their son. And Krishna gave them compassion and mercy. Okay, good question. Okay, it's time to end. Oh, someone was trying to poke her nose into my internal life. Yeah, I had the same issue with that person. That person was saying, I know what your Russ is. You don't know. And this person reveals what her internal life is, and it's not my business. It's not my business. I don't want to hear about your internal life. It's your internal life. I got enough problems with my internal life and my external life. And all these devotees who I'm supposed to be taking care of in their external lives and their internal lives. Don't let me hear about your internal. Okay, on that happy note, it's time to end. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.